Well, that's exactly the point that we've made already to the ACI, which is an association of European airports, and we've made the point to them very clearly that look, the release that they've issued is misleading because it speaks of the Gibraltar dispute and it speaks of Gibraltar holding things up. It gives the impression that it is actually Gibraltar or the UK or both of us that are the ones who are holding up the progress of European aviation legislation for the whole of the European Union, when it's not Gibraltar and it's not the UK, it's actually Spain. I mean, there was an agreement, and the release does refer to an agreement in the past whereby Gibraltar, the issue with the airport didn't hold up European Union legislation. That was the Cordoba Agreement. The agreement existed. It allowed Spain dropped their veto on Gibraltar's participation in EU aviation measures from 2006 to 2011, and it was the Partido Popular government in Madrid in 2011 that actually resumed that veto. So really, it's an issue created by Spain. The blocking is being done by Spain.
I suppose it must be rather frustrating to see that the press coverage that there is on this matter is usually along these lines. Very rarely do you see a mention of the fact that Spain resiled, as you say, from the 2006 Cordoba Agreement, and neither is Spain taken to task for having done so.
Well, we've put this across to this association and to others. I mean, in the last visit to Brussels, we put it across to members of the European Parliament. We've explained it to members of the Commission, and people are very sympathetic and they understand. But the reality is that because we are smaller and Spain has a more resources devoted to lobbying on these issues, they seem to get across their point of view. But certainly, look, we've left no stone unturned in making it clear to this association, as I said before, and to others, that our position is that under the European Union treaties, community law on civil aviation applies to Gibraltar as of right, that we have certain exclusions. As you know, we're not in the customs union, we don't apply VAT, we're not in the common agricultural policy, but on aviation issues, Gibraltar is most definitely part of the European Union. So certainly there can be no misunderstanding at all on that question. And we've made that point and driven that point home as far as we can to people in Brussels to make sure they understand that it's Spain that's doing the blocking, it's not Gibraltar.
In the context of what you've said, the fact that Spain has more resources than Gibraltar, is it perhaps a wasted exercise to spend so much time, energy and money, of course, on these lobbying trips when for one reason or another our message isn't properly reflected in the media?
No, I think it's useful because the message does get across to the decision makers. No? So, I mean, for example, we've hosted here MEPs who sit on the Transport Committee of the European Parliament who've come to understand the situation at first hand and who are now have it absolutely clear what it is that the problem is. We also distributed a leaflet which explained these issues and which suggested several solutions. One of them was the application of European Union law on civil aviation on a without prejudice basis, which is essentially what Cordoba does. It says, without prejudice to the position of the UK, without prejudice to the position of Spain, European law on civil aviation shall apply to Gibraltar Airport and Spain will not object. Or indeed to have legislation not mention Gibraltar at all. Why is it that they need to mention Gibraltar Airport when they don't mention Brussels Airport or Heathrow Airport or Barajas Airport? Why is it? So if it remains silent on the point of Gibraltar, our legal advice is the law would apply automatically to Gibraltar Airport and we would be included within it. So there are several solutions. The problem is that Spain walked away from the solution that we had.
Well, we've seen how in recent days the position of the EU towards the United Kingdom has hardened on the question of Brexit. Do you think that this issue is perhaps a further example of that countries now are getting rather fed up with the UK?
Well, it's very difficult to tell at this particular time. I mean, this is an aviation industry association. It's not coming from anywhere else. But there has been pressure, obviously, over the years since Spain decided to do a complete U-turn on its commitments and to dishonour the agreement that they signed up to. Over those years, there has been pressure to find solutions. And our position and the position of the UK, certainly to date, has been that Gibraltar is entitled to be included in European civil aviation legislation as a matter of right, that there was an agreement, that Spain walked away from the agreement, and that if they want a solution, all they have to do is come back and honour what they signed up to. So our position is very simple and has always been very clear and has been very clearly understood in the European Union. How this is caught up in the wider debate about Brexit is obviously another matter. I mean, that we would need to wait and see.